Alright, let's talk about how John Cena and Randy Orton had an iconic 7-year feud. So it all started in July of 2007 after Randy Orton attacked John Cena on Raw. After that, Randy Orton would be booked in a match against John Cena at SummerSlam for the WWE title. He would go on to attack Cena during his match against Carlito at Saturday night's main event, RKO him onto a chair, and attack him again in his match against Snitsky on Raw. So Cena and Orton would then face off at SummerSlam for the WWE title, with Cena going on to retain the title. Orton would demand a rematch for the title on Raw the next night and was denied the opportunity. So during John Cena's match against Booker T that same night on Raw, Randy Orton would attack John Cena and punt kick John Cena's dad, who was sitting in the crowd. This would lead to them facing off at Unforgiven, with Cena losing the match by DQ for attacking Randy Orton before and during the match. Cena would then put Orton into the STF as his dad would hilariously punt kick Randy Orton. So a rematch was scheduled between the two at No Mercy in a last man standing match to end their feud once and for all. The next night on Raw, Orton would force John Cena's dad to face him in a match and handcuff John Cena to the ring post as Orton forced him to watch him beat up his father. A month later, Cena would tear his pec in a match against Mr. Kennedy and be forced to vacate the WWE title just a week before his rubber match against Randy Orton at No Mercy. So at No Mercy, Mr. McMahon would crown Randy Orton as the new WWE champion and force him to defend his title against Triple H immediately after. Triple H would then go on to beat Randy Orton for the title, as Orton's title reign would only last just over 20 minutes. Mr. McMahon would then force Triple H to defend his title against Umaga 20 minutes later. Triple H would defeat Umaga and be forced to defend his title again in the main event against Randy Orton in a last man standing match. And in that match, Randy Orton would then RKO Triple H onto a table and win back the WWE title. 3 months later, John Cena would go on to return at the Royal Rumble and win it. The Cena-Orton feud was then reignited as Cena challenged Orton for the title at the next pay-per-view No Way Out instead of at WrestleMania. But just 15 minutes into the match, Randy Orton would slap the referee in the face to get himself DQ'd to retain the WWE title and waste John Cena's Royal Rumble title shot. That same night, Triple H would become the #1 contender for the WWE title by winning the Elimination Chamber match. But the next night on Raw, John Cena would face Orton with Triple H as the special guest referee, with the stipulation being that if Cena beat him, he would get another title shot. Cena would go on to win, and since Triple H was already the #1 contender for the WWE title, a triple threat match was booked between the three at WrestleMania for the title. And in that match, Randy Orton would go on to retain the title. At Backlash, a fatal 4-way match was scheduled between Orton, Cena, JBL, and Triple H for the WWE title, with Triple H going on to win the title. After that, John Cena and Randy Orton wouldn't feud with each other for over a year. Orton would win the title back a year later at Backlash, but lose it less than 2 months later to Batista at Extreme Rules. But Batista was forced to vacate the title a day later due to him being injured. So as a result, a fatal 4-way match was booked between Randy Orton, John Cena, Triple H, and The Big Show for the WWE title, with Randy Orton going on to win the title on Raw. A month later, John Cena would challenge Randy Orton and Triple H to a title match at Night of Champions, with Randy Orton going on to win the match and retain the title. The next night on Raw, John Cena would go on to win a Beat the Clock challenge and win a spot to face off against Randy Orton for the WWE title at SummerSlam. During the match, Randy Orton would get himself DQ'd, counted out, and use the ropes to win, which would result in the match being restarted 3 separate times. And after the brother of Ted DiBiase interfered in the match, Randy Orton would RKO John Cena and retain the title. After being attacked by Legacy on Raw, John Cena would get a chance to face off against Randy Orton at Breaking Point in an I Quit match for the WWE title. And after being brutally destroyed by Randy Orton for nearly the entire match, John Cena would go on to put Orton into the STF and force him to say "I quit" to win the WWE title. Less than a month later, Randy Orton would face John Cena for the title at Hell in a Cell and win the title back. The next night on Raw, Cena would challenge Orton to one last match in a 60-minute Iron Man match at Bragging Rights, and if Cena lost, he would have to leave Raw. After Orton nearly tried to end Cena by lighting him up with pyro, Cena would go on to beat Randy Orton 6-5 to win back the WWE title. And because this is wrestling, the one last match stipulation never lasted, as the two would go on to face off a month later on Raw to determine the Slammy Superstar of the Year, with Cena going on to beat Orton. After that, it was announced that Cena and Orton could never face off for the WWE title ever again. But of course, as we all know, that didn't last. After Randy Orton became a babyface, him and John Cena wouldn't feud for another 4 years. That was until 2013, when Daniel Bryan beat John Cena for the WWE title at SummerSlam. Bryan would then be betrayed by Triple H, as moments later Orton would come down to the ring, cashing his Money in the Bank contract, and win the title off of Daniel Bryan and officially turn heel. He would lose the title back to Bryan a month later at Night of Champions, but win it back from Bryan at Hell in a Cell a month later. That same night, John Cena would win the World Heavyweight Championship off of Alberto Del Rio, and later confront Orton by saying there can only be one World Champion. As a result, a TLC match was booked between the two to unify both titles. And in that match, Randy Orton would tie up John Cena, climb the ladder, win the match, and become the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. A month later, Orton would lose a match to Kofi Kingston on Raw, as Orton would attack John Cena's dad, who was sitting in the crowd just as he did 7 years prior. This would lead to Orton and Cena facing off at the Royal Rumble for the titles. But during the match, the Wyatt family would distract John Cena and allow Orton to beat him and retain the titles. Orton would then defend his titles in the Elimination Chamber match a month later, with John Cena being distracted by the Wyatt family again, causing him to be eliminated by Randy Orton, who would go on to retain his titles. John Cena would go on to face off against Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania 30 and beat him, and Randy Orton would defend his titles against Batista and Daniel Bryan, with Daniel Bryan finally winning the titles back off of Orton. But just 7 months later, Orton and John Cena would face off one last time at Hell in a Cell to determine the number one contender for the WWE title. Cena would go on to defeat Orton and put an end to one of the most iconic WWE feuds of all time.